After the success of The Jazz Singer in 1927, the movie industry had its biggest conundrum to date. As sound made its way to picture, how would the industry adapt? How would sound affect the creation of motion pictures? The industry largely dragged its feet. Actors and actresses dragged theirs because it was a technical nightmare at the time. Although it seems ridiculous today to view a silent musical, Universal Studios had planned to release a silent version of the popular play Showboat. However, rising popularity and interest in talkies and musicals with sound pressured the studio into reshooting scenes for Showboat after it was already completed as a silent film. It should be noted that adding sound to film was no small endeavor at this time, with cameras generally being isolated in boxes and microphones being limited to sometimes 1 or 2 inputs recording in real time. Capturing different audio sources and having them all be clearly audible was a technical feat at this point. The industry had some idea how to add sound effects from their use in radio plays, but film was an entirely different challenge. Silent film could be recut and edited in post-production easily. Film with a single take of sound could not.
Chris?
Hi, Grandpa. I got an internship.
You mean you've been working for Trisha?
Hang on, I gotta get 20 seconds of room tone.
What's room tone?
We gotta start again.
Jack Foley, somewhat of an entertainment renaissance man, offered to help add sound to Showboat. It was his, and perhaps anybody's, first work in the area of sound effects for film. The title of sound man didn't even exist, let alone Foley artist. Jack was born in New York and raised by an Irish Catholic family. He played semi-pro baseball, while his wife was a long-distance swimmer named Beatrice Rem. They secretly married and moved to California in 1914, eventually settling outside LA in a smaller town called Bishop, about 300 miles away. Jack had served with the American Defense Society during World War I. He also worked at a hardware store, but he was known in the community for contributing as a local actor, writer, and director. He submitted columns and comic strips to the local paper often. In his 30s, Jack found his way into film as an assistant to director William Kraft. He also worked on his own short films. He is said to have been a nice man, offering to help in any area he could contribute. He also took a class at University of South Carolina with experts at the time in sound technology. These were largely industry experts that had worked in sound for radio plays. See, the movie industry was much like the internet in the 90s, the Wild West. People played multiple, sometimes dozens, of different roles in filmmaking. Jack was perfect for this experimental climate with his varied skill set.
But I've replaced the audio of one of the videos, and instead of the sound of rain, I've added the sound of bacon frying. So I want you to think carefully which one the clip with the bacon is. All right. So actually, I lied. They're all bacon.
When the studio was ready to reshoot Showboat, there was one stage for an orchestra, singers, and soundmen to add everything in real time. This would prove to be a technical challenge to make dialogue, singing, music, and sound effects all audible without multi-track sound or overdubbing we use today. There was no rulebook, no established practice how to make this stuff work. Jack had the vision and aptness for experimentation to turn everyday sounds into believable performances that would enhance a film's immersion.
So Jack got in there, and he just happened to have, to my knowledge, he had no particular background in sound. He just had this natural gift for understanding character and understanding how to get in their timing and really start creating all the different noises that, because, you know, when we walk, we're conveying our emotions. Are we angry, stomping down the hall? Are we tiptoeing up the stairs? Is it like a horror movie? Are we just really, you know, it's been a long day, we're kind of going into the apartment. So there's all these ways that he realized that you can nuance a performance just by how you portray the actions of the characters.
Jack performed the sounds of actors in real time, including hand clapping, footsteps, sounds from props, even clothing passes. He would keep pieces of different cloth in his pocket, trying to capture the character of sound that would fit into each actor's movement. He used tricks like a cane to fake the sound of multiple people walking at once. To Jack, hearing was as important to believing a performance as the shot or the dialogue was. His knowledge in acting, stunt doubling, writing, and art gave him a unique view into what makes a captivating performance, and he transferred that knowledge into how he added sound into pictures. Late in his career, Jack shared some of his work experiences. He said Rock Hudson had deliberate footsteps, James Cagney's were clipped, and Marlon Brando's were soft, so they needed to be filmed accordingly. This kind of work would propel Jack onto the path of being the first real sound man, what we now refer to as the Foley artist in honor of his contributions. Sadly, during his career he was largely not attributed for his work. His family didn't even know what he actually did at Universal, and his work and techniques were largely a secret up until his retirement. He worked at Universal for over 30 years, never appearing in films he worked on even as a cameo, and not receiving credit for major movies we now understand he worked on, such as the original 1931 Dracula, Phantom of the Opera, Operation Petticoat, and Kubrick films like Spartacus, which was his last known contribution to film sound.